first reading this morning highlights the call to the Christian community. Brethren devoted themselves to the apostles' instruction and the communal life, to the breaking of bread and prayers. A reverent fear overtook them all. For many wonders and signs were performed by the apostles.
Your Eminence, how are you?
They would sell their property and goods, dividing everything on the basis of each one's need.
Tickets to the door price, 50 cents each. What are they yours? Rivers. He's donating to the door price. They don't make those anymore.
I still owe Dave for a tank of gas.
Hey, Tony, they're not worth it.
With exultant and sincere hearts, they took their meals in common, praising God and winning the approval of all the people. Day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved.
Over the weekend of April 20th through April 22nd, Alpha Delta Gamma's Kappa chapter celebrated a special occasion, its 40th anniversary. On Friday night, brothers spanning 40 years gathered for pizza, beer, story swapping, and a look at the past. Age made no difference because of our common bond. Some met for the first time while others picked up without missing a beat. Known among men was not a slogan on the coat of arms. It was an experience being shared by all.
And now it begins to shine, and you've found the eyes to see each little drop, the dawn of every day. Your smiling comes back to me, and whatever you may say, don't let it stop, never fade away. As we gotta get out in this world together, then we might as well start to make some changes. If that's what it takes, then I gotta be strong. Don't wanna be wrong. If that's what it takes, the closer I get into that open door. Wanna be sure. If that's what it takes. And now that it's shining through, and you can see all this world, don't let it stop, never fade away. If we gotta be in this life forever, then we better be taking all the chances. If that's what it takes, then I gotta be strong. Don't wanna be wrong. If that's what it takes, the closer I get into that open I gotta be sure if that's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. What it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. What it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. That's what it takes.
While Father Foley from nearby Curly Hall. It's men like these that guided us spiritually, developed our Christian values, and helped us grow into complete men. Take unto you the sword of the Spirit, that is, the Word of God. That growth continued with our Alumni Active Family Mass. Father Byron joined the celebration and offered words of support.
The brethren devoted themselves to the apostles' instruction and the communal life, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. And as it says there, skipping a line or two, those who believed shared all things in common, and in their homes they broke bread. The emphasis there, the brethren, the brothers, really the companions. They shared things, they broke bread. Now let me play with words and with respect for a moment, but it's not very much of a leap to go from the brethren to the brothers to the fraternity. The words all mean the same thing. So localize yourselves, put yourselves in your faith tradition right in its embryonic stages as it began after these experiences of the upper room, and then on to the formation of this Christian community. And what did the brethren, what did the fraternity do? They gathered together and remembered the Lord in the breaking of the bread. They broke bread as companions. And again, the basic etymology of the word companion is kumpane, with bread, the bread breakers. And the early Christians were bread breakers who remembered their Lord. He was no longer with them, so they remembered him in the breaking of the bread. And as this account from the Acts of the Apostles says, those who believed shared all things in common. Now, when we think of the condition of our contemporary world, when we think of the greed, the hoarding, the divisiveness, the hatred, all of this, to some extent at least, is a function of our unbelief. When we look today, this very day, Earth Day, 1990, we think of our environmental problems. The newspapers are replete, television accounts replete, our current environmental problems. Part of it is a result of our unwillingness to share, to preserve, to treat the earth as a sacred legacy to be handed on to others. A failure to exercise the responsibility of stewardship that we have. A failure in our belief that the earth indeed is the Lord's. And that we are not owners, we're not free to destroy it, we're managers to use it for the sustaining of life and to be passed on to subsequent generations. So that spirit of sharing that's known to you through your fraternity experiences, that spirit of sharing should be rooted in belief. Those who believed shared all things in common. Believed in what? Believed in Jesus, believed in his gospel, and believed in the overall lordship of a creator God who is the dominant. But for you, this is a reunion day. It's a fraternity day. It's a kumpane, a company day, as you break bread with one another. And in the breaking of the bread, not only remember but give thanks to the Lord, who is the source of all your gifts, So let me end now, first with a bad joke, and then an important spiritual point. The bad joke is the one of the familiar scene of the Last Supper. You're all, as I say that word, you all know the painting. And of course it said that Jesus said, now fellas, if you want to get in the picture, you're going to have to come around on this side of the table. The fact is that there was no picture. There was no photographer there. There was no video camera. We had no picture of Jesus that would have been an exact, actual photograph or painting. We had none. But at that very moment, in that context, at the Last Supper, he said, this is how I want you to remember me. To remember me in the breaking of the bread, the Kappa. And he wanted to be remembered as bread broken and passed around for the life and nourishment of others. And he said to them that night, which was just the night before he died, by this will all men know that you are my disciples, that you love one another. In effect, he was saying, everyone will know you're a Christian if you're willing to break yourselves open in a sharing and pass yourselves around in service to one another. More concerned about the good of the other than about one's own good. That's the fundamental Christian vulnerability and availability and generosity. So we remember the Lord not in a painting or a photograph. We remember the Lord in the breaking of the bread. And we keep alive in our midst, in our time, not just the message of the Lord, but the presence of the Lord by breaking ourselves open and letting ourselves be shared for the good of the other as bread broken and passed around. That gets to the heart of the Christian mystery, and I have to say that is not too far distant from the heart of the reality that's embodied in the spirit of ADG.
But Mass is only of value when we share in the ceremony. We did. That's what made ours special. St. Paul wrote to the Corinthians about fraternalism. Brothers, if I should speak with silver tongues of men and the golden tongues of angels, but in my heart do not have fraternalism, I have become as hollow as sounding glass or a tinkling cymbal. And if I have the gift of prophecy and know all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith even so as to move mountains, yet do not have fraternalism, I am nothing. And if I distribute all my goods to feed the poor, and if I deliver my body to be burned, yet do not have fraternalism in my heart, it profits me nothing. Fraternalism is patient, is kind. Fraternalism does not envy, is not pretentious, is not puffed up, is not ambitious. It's not self-seeking, is not provoked. It thinks no evil. It does not rejoice over wickedness, but rejoices with the truth. It bears with all things. It believes all things. It hopes all things. And it endures all things. Fraternalism never fails, whereas prophecies will disappear, and tongues will cease, and knowledge will fail. For our knowledge is imperfect, and our prophesying is imperfect. But once perfection comes, all imperfect things will disappear. When I was a small child, I would speak like a child. I felt as a child. I thought like a child. But now that I have become a man, I have put my childish ways behind me. Likewise, I have learned that in this life as but a dim reflection in a mirror, but in time we will see things as face to face. The knowledge I have now is still imperfect, but then I shall know as I am known. So, my brothers, there are but three things that last for all time: faith, hope, and fraternalism. And the greatest of these is fraternalism. ADG Actives, alumni, and family shared all three. We shared our faith through Mass. New actives show hope for our